It's relevant from the point of view of safety.
It's not about safety, it's about impact on the conservation area.
No, that's why I'm quoting the supporting statement that's actually from Fife Council's consultant, which says that safety considerations are a strong material consideration.
Apologies for interrupting you, Councillor Langlands. If I may help, convener, the one thing that maybe would help provide the foundations for this application is that Forth Ports is the statutory harbour port authority here, and as such it has broad permitted development rights in terms of the general permitted development order. That's why it has PD rights at the moment. The same does not apply to the listed building consent, which is why it's only listed building consent is before members today. With regard to your question about the bus turning route in the area, Councillor Langlands, that's a private arrangement between the controlling interest in the land and the bus driver or the bus company. That wouldn't be a matter for the planning authority to be concerned with. It would, you know, whatever happens by way of determination of this application today, you know, whether the bus continues to enjoy a turning right in that area or not, is strictly a matter between the bus company and the controlling interest in the site, which is Forth Ports Authority.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks for the clarification on that.
It's probably worthwhile drawing your attention to paragraph 1.4.3 and 146 and leading on to 221 to 225. That's what we're considering today, not anything else, not the principal offence or anything else. So if you have a read of that and confine your comments to the application that we've got before us, that would be helpful.
Can I move on to a question on section 2 then? This is the area where there is heavy goods marshalling on the north side of the actual dock area, sandwiched between the dock and the railway line. It's noted that there's heavy good marshalling there. The wood boats discharge onto the quayside, and forklift trucks run back and forward to Scott Timber. There's a pedestrian access proposed sandwiched between the railway fence and the new fence. And my concerns is how will that work given the amount of activity in that area and the safety of the pedestrians traversing this area. Is that a competent question in this?
No, not really. That's about the principle of the fence.
No, it's about the principle
really
of safety.
Impact.
It's safety.
It's not really about safety. It's about the impact of the fence on the listed building and the conservation area, and that is the only thing we're able to really discuss today.
Well, sorry, convener, but I'll quote again the fact that safety considerations should be a strong material consideration.
They might be in relation to can you sort of relax your aesthetic judgment because of the health and safety consideration? But that is the only issue I think that health and safety refers to. It's not the principle of the fence keeping people in or keeping people out. Am I right about that?
Yeah, happily just to clarify that that's the view of the agent who has submitted the application on behalf of Forth Ports. But just going back to the report, 2.2.1 sets out that this application is submitted under the Listed Building and Conservation Areas Act. So in determining, I'll read the section in full, in determining the application, the authority should pay special attention to the desirability of preserving or enhancing the character or appearance of the relevant designated area, and the planning authority should have special regard to the desirability of preserving a listed building and its setting or any features of special architectural or historic interest which it possesses. That probably sums up what the scope is in terms of the considerations of the application before members today. It is about the impact of the proposal on those special features. And the Port Authority will have wider considerations in terms of its responsibility under the health and safety legislation. But in terms of members' consideration today, the principal assessment is under that section of the Act, which this application has been submitted under.
Gordon, do you have any?
Could I come back on? Yes, could I come back on something? One of the documents is from the Built Heritage, Fife Council Built Heritage, and the recommendation that they have, point 4, in their document is very much along the lines that I'm trying to address here. It says there's no objection to the proposals which would not harm the physical fabric of the listed harbour. However, in the interests of fully respecting the setting of the conservation area and the harbour, some consideration, management and mitigation would be welcomed. That may include, where consistent with operational needs, security and health and safety requirements, minor revision of the layout and design of the fencing and gates. Where relevant, any such revision would also potentially allow a review of managing public access safety. And it concludes by saying, by the officer saying, I would be happy to provide further advice and support. This is where I'm coming from, Convener. I'm trying to ensure that the plan is meets safety as well as security of the area. I'm not criticising Forth Ports. What I would say is that I welcome their efforts to make the port safer and become a secure port. But I would welcome some mitigating efforts to improve the health and safety aspects, specifically in the northeast corner where it's very narrow, where there's a lot of machinery moving around and there's limited access to pedestrians.
Thanks, Gordon. There is some mitigation proposed, but Kevin will give you a bit more detail about that.
Yeah. Thank you, Convener. Yeah, page 149 under 2.2.11 sets out the subsequent meeting that did take place in terms of ensuring that the impact on specifically one of the features, the sets of the cobbles within the site, were limited to the most, or are limited to the least number of sets that could be impacted. So there has been a subsequent meeting to make sure that the development impacts as little as possible on the historic features that are actually within the site itself, and that's sufficient. And one of the subsequent elements related to planting to soften the appearance of the fencing. Now, it is an active port and therefore it is industrial in its nature, albeit it does have a very historic, long history in terms of its history dating back many, many years. But ultimately, it's a historic port which is now being used in the modern sense as a port and an ongoing interest as a port. And therefore, the setting of the fence within that context is not out of character, but we've secured by condition 4 on page 153 additional planting to soften the impact of that fencing, given it is very industrial in its appearance, but it's not out of kilter or out of context in terms of the port itself, nor the impact on the adjacent listed heritage features and conservation area for that matter.
Does that give you some comfort, Gordon?
No, I'm afraid not. I'm still have grave concerns about the safety in this area generated by the positioning of this fence. I'm not adverse to the fence or its the fact its colour or height. It's the actual positioning of it.